But now I want to talk to you about some specific principles now in how you capture people's heart. The number one thing I learned in coaching football and coaching A.L. Williams is building relationships of trust with your coaches and players is everything. Listen to me, folks. If your players and coaches don't trust you, you can't win. Listen to me, folks. If you don't trust your players and coaches, you can't win. Building relationships of trust where you believe in each other and you trust in each other is the way you win in business. You see, folks, nobody's ever accomplished anything by themselves. Think about this. If you've ever accomplished anything that was really important to you in your life, you always had somebody that believed in you and trusted you, and you believed in them and trusted them. See, I had many, many relationships like that in my life. The most important was Coach Taylor, my only hero in life. All I wanted to be was like Coach Taylor. He meant everything to me. Uh, during this 4 month period of time, I told you in September 1976, when I made up my mind after being 4 years with ITT and 3 years at Waddell and Reed, that I wanted to build a company where salespeople are king, a company that took on the life insurance industry and just see what we can do. And I couldn't find any company that would take our business. It was probably the most frustrating period of my life, and had to start out with this little old company, Financial Assurance. It was just licensed in 13 states, didn't have no money, didn't have no nothing, but that was the only one that would touch us with a 10-foot pole. When I had finally designed A.L. Williams with Bill Atkins, and we had everything in place and we were ready to go, February 9, 1977, I picked up the phone and I called Bob Strader, the national sales director at Waddell and Reed, and I said, "Bob, I'm gone." It was like a 30-second conversation, and he didn't like me and I didn't like him, so that made him happy, I'm sure. We hung up that phone and World War III broke out. Because I had planned the few weeks before, I had had my war plan. I knew they were going to send their people down here, and I knew who they were going to go after and try to keep and what they were going to offer them and all that kind of stuff. And so I had a plan. And quite frankly, folks, I didn't know I could work so hard. For those next 3 or 4 weeks, I would literally get up early in the morning. I would go for 10 or 12 or 14 hours. I'd get home at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I'd have 15 telephone calls. Said, "Call me no matter what time you get in." I'd get a couple hours sleep. I'd hit it the next day. Rusty Crossland, one of the original 7 RVPs, a giant, just like Mike in our company, was at that time, he was on a special program at Waddell and Reed. Rusty was a very gifted person as a leader. He was a former basketball coach. I recruited him in the business. Rusty had a special program where they were trying to recruit full-time professional people, and they picked Rusty out as the office they were going to experiment with this pilot program. So they paid Rusty all his expenses and gave him salaries to hire people, and he was over there doing this thing. He had a real high profile in the company, and it built up a good relationship with some of the home office people. They thought he was a real hero, and he was. And so I thought Rusty would be, I had it figured out who was going to come real quickly and who was going to take a little bit longer to come. And I had Rusty pegged. I thought it was going to take a few weeks before, I had a chance to get him, because I thought his answer to me was going to be, I got to think about this. So I would call somebody. I would go spend about 15 or 30 minutes with somebody and tell them I had a little old game plan, and I'd be honest with them. I said, "Look, if we make it big, it's going to be a monster." But I said, the odds are probably like this of us making it. I told every one of them that. I told them that for a couple, 3 years, quite frankly. So I called Rusty and I said, "Rusty, I want to meet you and Teresa at your house at 1:30. So I pull in his driveway, I get out of the car, and in my mind, I know Rusty's going to take a few weeks, to make up this decision, because it's a big move. Here, the presidents of the new companies telling us probably odds like this, us not going to make it. He's got a high-profile position. They're paying all his expenses, giving him salaries to hire people and all that kind of stuff. And I sit down and explain to him in about 15 minutes what A.L. Williams was and how we were going to build this company. And Rusty looked me in the eye, and he didn't even blink an eye. He said, "I'm in." It tears me up today to think about it. See, that's what it's all about. Bill Arenda, who y'all know, another giant in the company. Bill was the guy that I picked out on Friday night at every fast start school for years to wind up because he was such a dynamic speaker and just got everybody all motivated and whatnot. And Bill was a division manager under Jenny Carter. When I announced that 30-second telephone call, when I called Waddell & Reed, told them I was leaving, they got a team of their executives in Kansas City on a plane, flew down to the hotel right across the street from the Waddell & Reed office. They got another airplane and brought a team of people down from Continental Investment Corporation, the parent company in Boston, Massachusetts, down to a hotel. They set up war quarters in their hotel right there, and I was in my car bouncing around. And, I talked to Bill Arenda, and they had talked to Bill Arenda, and they had offered Bill Arenda my job, the vice president in charge of the Southeast, $100,000 salary, all his expenses. So I sit down with Bill Arenda and I tell him the A.L. Williams plan, and I say, "Bill, the odds are like this of us making it. If we make it big, it's going to be unbelievable. I can't bring in as an RVP, Bill. You deserve it. But that would devastate Jenny Carter's income. So I had to bring Bill Arenda in as a division manager." And I said, "Just trust me, Bill. It's going to be big." And Bill Arenda, being offered now the regional vice president's position of the Southeast, $100,000 a year of salary, all his expenses paid, didn't even bat an eye. He said, "I'm in." Do you have any idea why we beat Prudential and 2,000 other companies? You have any idea? See, Prudential was out there selling insurance to make a living. We were selling insurance to correct an injustice. This was more than a business to us. About 2 or 3 years later, I was killing myself. We were just growing. We always had 10 times more business. We needed 10 times more money. We needed 10 times more everything, And I needed somebody in the home office that really understood me, that could talk to the home office people and talk to the people in the field. And when we got ready to start A.L. Williams, I called Bob Miller, who was a former basketball coach. He was part-time at Waddell & Reed at that time, and he and I had become great friends, and another giant in A.L. Williams. And I said, "Bob, I want you to come full-time." I said, "Now, the chances are about like this of us making it, but I want you to give up your basketball job. I want you to come full-time. And I'm going to give you an RVP contract." See, this is, boy, when you're a leader, sometimes you have to make gut-wrenching decisions. Here I make Bill Arenda, who just turned $100,000 a year salary out, a division manager. And I said, "Now, Bob, if this ever gets out, I'd be dead." You understand? But I want to experiment with you. I want to see if we can build a special pilot program down here where we can utilize this, because I want to take A.L. Williams all over the world. And I want to experiment with your organization. And so Bob comes full time, and he does very well for a couple, 3 years. I called Bob on the phone one day. I said, "Bob, I need your help so bad. I need you to come up here and be an in-house national sales director. I just got to have you. Bob, I don't have any money to pay you. I don't know how I'm going to pay you. We don't have anything, okay? But all I can tell you is if we make it, I think you ought to be amongst the highest paid people in our company." Bob Miller hung up that phone, told his wife to pack her bags, and they moved to Atlanta, Georgia. Can you believe that, folks? Can you believe that? I had heart surgery 3 months ago. Get a call from Frank Deneen one day, one of the original RVPs. And Frank wanted to check on me and all this. And he said, "Art," he said, "You know what? If you told me tomorrow that you were opening up a new company in Australia, I'd pack up my 6 kids and we'd be on a boat to Australia. Does that give you an idea? Building relationships of trust is everything. You win with your heart, not your head. How do you build these relationships of trust? You can't demand trust. You can't demand loyalty. You can't demand love. You can't demand honesty. You can't fake integrity. You can't fake belief. How do you get people to trust you? Number one, you got to be sincere. Number two, you got to always look for the good things in people. As a coach, you got to always look for the strengths in people. You can't let the losers and the negative people and the dishonest people and the unethical people make you lose faith in people. That's hard. You see, even if you recruit with a heart, you're still going to have maybe 1% of the people out there are going to be the wrong kind of people, and they're going to do bad things, and they're going to hurt you. But you can't give up on the 99% of the people, the goodness in them. You got to show your people you really care about them, that you care about their family, that you care about their dreams. You got to make your people a friend. You got to make your people a friend. You got to love your people and believe in your people in good times and bad times. You know, I told Art and April when they were coming along as kids, I said, I want to tell you something now. You're going to do some bad things in your life. You're going to do some things that you're ashamed of, and you're going to do some things that your mom and daddy are ashamed of. You're going to do some things, and we're going to be embarrassed. And you're going to be embarrassed. And you're going to be hurt. And you're going to be crying. And we're going to be crying. And you're going to have some people that take advantage of you and use you and hurt you bad, really bad sometimes. But I want you kids to know this. There ain't nothing you can ever do that would cause your mom and daddy not to love you. Not to be there with you. I don't care how tough it gets. I don't care what kind of tight spot you're in. There's 2 people in this world that you can count on, fighting for you. We might be crying. We might be embarrassed. We might be hurting, but we love you. You've got to have an attitude to build these relationships of trust. It's got to be for real that you're working for your people. There's nothing wears me out more than when I see leaders that say, you guys work hard so I can build a bigger base shop, so I can make more money, so I can win a contest. If that ever crosses your mind, you ain't worthy of being a person's coach. A coach always works for his people. You work for your people to make more money, for your people to get promotions, for your people to win contests. You've got to prove to your people that you're totally 100% committed, that you're going to go down with the ship. People won't ultimately follow a negative, dull, disillusioned, frustrated dadgum crybaby. Now, folks, let me tell you a few rewards that when you win, when you get old like me and you've won, let me tell you some rewards that are worth as much as being financially independent and all this kind of stuff. I had a former guy at A.L. Williams. He's no longer in the company. He went out and did his own thing. And he wrote a book. And in the dedication of his book, he said this about Art Williams. He said, Art Williams cared about my family, my dream, and as my leader, helped show me how I could make my dreams come true. He aimed for my heart, and I never forgot. What's that worth for somebody to feel that way about you? The first seminar I did this year, at the banquet, David Landrum got up and said, you know, next to my dad, Art Williams meant the most to me. Well, what's that worth? 2 seminars ago, there was a young lady sitting on the front table right here in a smaller room downtown. And she wrote me this letter. She said, Dear Art, from the moment I walked into the welcome reception last night, I knew this event was going to change my life. Just seeing you both live, the words you speak, seeing you both so humble, so genuine, so incredibly warm and caring was enough to fuel me to continue the fight to financial independence. Then we got into the locker room. I got there early to get the seat as close to you as possible. I'm eating up every word, every story, every example, every tough time you went through, every caring thought you share, every tear you almost start to shed. What's that worth? Folks, that's it. That's everything. That's the difference in being the best you can be, in building the biggest team you can build, in having your people have the most success. It begins with the heart. You capture the heart, you capture the person. Number two, to capture the heart, you've got to sell the goodness and rightness first. See, Prudential sells life insurance to make a living. A.L. Williams sells it to correct an injustice. See, folks, we made it personal. We made it personal. You can't have some nebulous thing out there. You got to have an enemy. You got to make it personal. I never forgave them for what they did to my mama. I never forgave them for what they did to me and Angela and my babies. I made it personal. There's a goodness in A.L. Williams. Were we perfect? No. Did we screw up a bunch? But there was a goodness. There was a rightness. It was something you could hang on to. You could sink your teeth into. 3 Sundays ago, I went to a meeting at Highlands Country Club. That's the country club I belong to. It's right over there. They had a guest speaker who was president of Walk Through the Bible, a big ministry worldwide. His name is Chip Ingram. He's got one of the largest radio ministries in the United States. He came from California, by the way, somewhere up around Carmel. And he was a speaker that night. So I was out there eating dinner and got time for him to speak. And he was telling his personal story. He said, I was a basketball coach in Kentucky. I had a wife and 2 children. And all of a sudden, one day, I got called to the ministry. I had $700 in the bank, all the money I had, and I applied to school in Dallas, Texas. He said, I didn't know anybody in Texas, didn't have a job, had a wife and 2 kids, had $700. But I was called into the ministry. I had to go. I gave up my coaching job, put all my belongings in a trailer. We went to Dallas, Texas, got me an apartment down there and figured out it was going to take $900 a month to pay my bills, to put food on the table for my kids. But I was going to school. It was going to take me 3 years to graduate, and I was going to school, all day. And so I only had, 3 or 4 hours a day to work. And I found a little company called A.L. Williams. And for 3 years, I made $900. Today, he touches the lives of millions and millions of people. There's a goodness in this company. Were we perfect? No. Did we screw up? You betcha. But there was a goodness. There was something you could tie to. There was something you could believe in. To capture people's heart, you've got to have a clear and powerful vision. February 10, 1977, we had 2 parts to our vision that I explained to everybody, then everybody explained to everybody. See, to build a team, you've got to have everybody on the team that understands the vision, believes in the vision, and follows the vision. And there were 2 parts. 50% of the vision of A.L. Williams is that you were part of some great event. When we recruited somebody to A.L. Williams, we said, I want you to know you're part of some great event. We're out there correcting an injustice. I want you to know we're going to destroy the concept of trash value life insurance. I want you to know one day we're going to kick Prudential's butt. You're part of some great event. I said, one day, this little peanut of a company, these little 85 people here in Georgia, most of it in Atlanta, Georgia, one day, everybody in the life insurance industry is going to know and fear A.L. Williams. You're part of some great event. Well, you saw in their own words what we did, right? Became number one, changed the industry. You sell 86% trash value, now it's down to 20%. But think about this fear. Think about this fear. Probably 2-3 years later, after we founded A.L. Williams, we were still only in about 3 or 4 or 5 states. But folks, you know this network I talked about, you know, this local life underwriters, state, national, Joseph Bell, all this kind of stuff. Do you know, folks, in states like California where we were not in, you could go into any town, any city, and go into any insurance office. Weren't even in California. Weren't even in Oregon. We were not in Idaho. But you could go into Idaho, and you could go to Boise, Idaho, and you could go to the local prudential office, and you say, have you guys ever heard of A.L. Williams? And the veins on their neck would bust out, and their face would get red. The whole industry knew and feared A.L. Williams. You're part of some great event. This is a great event. 2 years ago, I was in South Florida. You know, Angela and I are really legal residents of Palm Beach. We spend the winter down there. John Roy's one of my close friends, and I was talking with John Roy. And he's financially independent, you know, and all that kind of stuff, still in the company. And John said, this was 2 years ago. This was 12 years after they changed the name of the company from PSF, from A.L. Williams to PSL. And he went to the barbershop where he'd gone for like 20 years. The guy was cutting his hair. In the chair next to him, there was another gentleman that had just moved into the area. And John got through, same guy had been cutting his hair for all these years. He said, John, you ought to meet this guy. He just moved in. He's in the same business you're in. The guy picks his head up, stakes his hand out to John and says, I'm Bill Jones with Life of Virginia. Who are you with? And John looked him in the eye, didn't put his hand out, and said, I'm with your worst nightmare. Hey, listen, 12 years after the name changed, this guy said, you don't mean A.L. Williams, do you? Is that unbelievable? Is that unbelievable? 4 years ago down in Palm Beach, there's a very prestigious club called the Everglades Club. I had some friends that sponsored me and Angela to the club, and they blackballed me. And my friends were so embarrassed and humiliated because, you know, they loved me and they didn't like it. And I told them, I said, I promise you, that's the best thing that could have happened to me. For me to know they still remember. You understand that? Okay, 2 years ago, Wade Hampton, great golf course, Lawrence, right over here, 15 miles away. I had 2 friends sponsor me, a doctor friend from Augusta and 2 friends at Highlands Country Club, 3 people. And I got blackballed by an insurance guy in Atlanta, Georgia. And they were mad and humiliated. I said, listen, I promise you that's the best thing that could have happened to me. I want you to understand, that's the best thing that could have happened to me. They still remember. So you know what? I went out and bought a golf course, you know. The second part of our vision, we had a vision to be part of some great event. It was just not a business. It was not a way to make money. This was a great event. This was a great happening in America. You were going to be part of some magical, one-of-a-kind thing. And the second thing was we want your family to be financially independent. Not my family. We want your family. Our goal is for your family to be financially independent, to be in a situation where nobody can put their thumb on you and squeeze you. And you know what, folks? We might have been the company. I don't know. If we were not the company, we were certainly amongst the companies that produced more financially independent families during that 20 years than anybody ever did. In addition to building an organization that would give your family a chance to become financially independent, we started a public company in 1981. If you were an NSD and got the original stock in that company in 1981, put $10,000 in it, in 2001, 20 years later, it was worth $6,216,000, a 62,700% return, 39% per year. From 81 to 89, we had a 52.23% return annually. From 89 to 2001, a 31.7% return. Isn't that unbelievable? See, people want to be their own boss. People want to control their own destiny. People want to be in a situation financially one day where nobody can squeeze them. And we give you that. In addition to giving you that kind of financial opportunity, we give you a chance to join some great event, some big event. Number 4, to capture people's heart, you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. I went to a meeting with ITT and a guy that read Think and Grow Rich, and he said, you ought to get that book and read it. And I got the book and read it, and I found what I thought was the single thing all successful people did. And you have a plan. See, I never came in this business, folks. I was making $10,700 a year coaching. I never came in this business to be a millionaire. That never entered my mind. You understand, when you grow up in Cairo, Georgia, your folks hadn't made any money. I was a football coach, a teacher. I didn't see myself as a millionaire. I didn't think people like me could be a millionaire. You understand that? I didn't see that for me. I didn't see making $300,000 a year, $500,000 a year, or $1 million a year. I didn't see that for me. You understand that? I didn't think somebody like me, I don't feel like anybody's better than me. You understand that? But I just didn't see that was me. I didn't think I was capable of making $500,000 a year. I didn't think I was supposed to live in some big home, the biggest home in town. See, A.L. Williams was not built for you to become a millionaire. It was not built for you to make a big income. It was not built for you to have the biggest home in the town. A.L. Williams was built for you to become financially independent. Financially independent. And I found this out, and I put it in common sense. And in this book, old Napoleon Hill said, all these successful people I know, they have a plan of being financially independent. And so there's a number of steps, and I'm going to give it to you. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, okay, but I just want to give you the idea. He said, you got to first have, it's got to be a specific thing that you can see being financially independent, okay? So I started thinking, I said, well, I'm making $10,000 a year coaching and another $12,000 or $15,000 a year part-time income I'm saving. So if I had a pot of money out there that would give me $30,000 a year income, and I'd never touch that money would just go on forever. Then if I don't change my standard of living, I would be financially independent. So all of a sudden, I begin to zero in on what would be financially independent for me. I'm not, I see so many people destroyed because they're comparing themselves to this guy making $2 million a year, or $500,000 a year, or driving in this Mercedes, and all this kind of stuff. See, you got to compare yourself to you and your dreams and your goals. I know people that have made millions of dollars that ain't got a pot to pee in. You understand that? I know people that make $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year that ain't close to being financially independent. I know some people make $50,000 a year that are financially independent. Financial independence is the key. Does that make sense? So all of a sudden, see, I didn't think about being a millionaire. I didn't see Art Williams making $500,000 a year. But all of a sudden I said, if I could get a pot of money out here, that'd have to, so I'd got to get $300,000. So if I could get a pot of money out here at $300,000 at 10% interest, that would give me my $30,000, and that money machine would go on forever. And if I don't change my standard of living, I'm financially independent. Nobody can put their thumb on me and squeeze me. Ain't that something? And so he says, you got to figure out a time. So I was 27 years old. I said I would give myself 10 years. At 37, I wanted to be financially independent. Then he said you had to make a plan. Like I said, I had $42,000, and if I could get 10% interest on that, my mutual fund's doing a little bit better than that. In 10 years, that'd be $100,000. So at $300,000, I was $200,000 short. And I took my compound interest table, worked it back, and said if I could save $1,000 a month, which I was doing, times 10% interest gives me $200,000. I was already doing it. All of a sudden, I figured it out in 10 years, how if I just did what I was doing right now, I'd be financially independent. But if I tried to think about being a millionaire or made $500,000 a year, comparing myself to all the other leaders in the company, that would have blown me away. Do you understand that? But I figured out my goal of financial independence, and I figured out my plan. Folks, I cannot count the times I wanted to quit and go get a good job. I can't tell you the number of nights I put my head on a pillow, dying inside, wanting to quit this business and go back and coach football. I can't begin to tell you the number of times. And the thing that kept me going was this dream of being financially independent. And boy, when I wanted to quit, I did my old plan out. You know, he said you got to write it down and you got to think about it every day. I put it in my daily calendar. And when I was on the throne doing my business, you know, I was reading a paper, I'd pick my old pen out of my pocket and I'd figure out how I was doing. And boy, when I wanted to quit, I'd say, you know, Art, you only got 7 years to go. And it'd keep me going. And then next time I wanted to quit, Art, you only got 5 years to go. And it'd keep me going for another day. So, Art, you only got 3 years to go. When I say A.L. Williams was built for average and ordinary people, you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about average and ordinary people on the outside, but buddy, you cut them open. They're the most wonderful people in the world, you know? So anyway, moving on now. Number 5, to capture the hearts of your people, you've got to become a coach, not a boss. And a coach's number one responsibility is to make people feel like a stud. Folks, you've got to have the ability as the head coach of your team to make all of your players feel like a stud. You know, you might have a wide receiver that runs a 4.7 40 and you need a 4.3 40 guy, okay? But you got a 4.7 guy out there, okay? Well, you can't take, well, you're slow, you got sorry hands, you ain't no good, you know, I wish I had somebody else. I mean, he's your player, he's your split end, right? And you got to make him feel like he's an All-American, you know? He's all-world. He can be all-conference, you know? You might not be as fast as some of these other jokers, but they won't catch the tough pass across the middle. You know, somebody hits them, then they'll flinch or whatnot, okay? And you've got to have the ability to make all of your people feel like a stud, to see the best in everybody. We recruited over 2 million people when I was at A.L. Williams. I've never met anybody yet that didn't have some good qualities. Now, they've been a few I had to look hard at, you know, to find them, right? But you know, out of 2 million people, every person, every piece of flesh out there, folks, has got some good quality. And as a coach, it's your responsibility to look for the strengths, to look for the good things in people and build those up, okay? Let me give you a couple of facts in being a coach. Fact number 1, people respond to people that see their strengths and think they're wonderful. Folks, do you understand that people can tell how you feel about them just the way you look at them, the way you talk to them? Do you understand that? You can say the right words and all this kind of stuff, but if it's phony, people can pick up on that a mile away, right? And for you to capture somebody's heart, You've got to think this person is wonderful, that they're special, that you're proud to have him on your team. Fact number 2, you've got to love your people, and it's got to be sincere, and you've got to have the ability to show it. You've got to have the ability to show it. If you can't show your love, now that don't mean you got to go up and hug somebody and kiss them. Nothing wrong with that, and all that kind of stuff too. But folks, there's got to be love. There's got to be emotion. And as a coach, to build those trusting relationships that'll carry you through tough times out there, you've got to have the ability to show people you love them, to show them you believe in them, and to show them you care about them, and to make them feel like a stud. I took my hero, Coach Taylor, and other coaches I knew, and then I thought about some bosses I knew, and I could name a couple of names, and y'all would know them too. And I tried just to list down. I took 3 pages. I tried to list down. I think this would be a great thing for you to have somewhere in your desk, and every now and then, just go look at it in some of your quiet time, okay? And just look at the contrast between a coach and a boss. Let me just give you a few. Coaches make you feel good. Bosses make you feel bad. Coaches look for the good things in you. Bosses look for your bad things. Coaches are always positive. Bosses are always negative. Coaches are always excited. Bosses always business. Coaches have an enemy. Bosses have a job. Coaches have fun. Bosses are always serious. Coaches want you to win. Bosses want you to help him win. Coaches want you to be a hero. Bosses wants to be the hero. Coaches are really sincerely interested in you, in your family, in your dreams. Bosses are interested in only the bottom line. Coaches are warriors. Bosses are politicians. Coaches are not afraid to be controversial. Bosses are always afraid to rock the boat. Coaches want you to make a difference. Bosses wants to make a profit. How about that? Just a great resource. If you want to win, if you want to be a great leader and build a great team, you've got to become a great coach. Number 6, to capture the heart of your people, you must give them a chance to build their own company. See, A.L. Williams was built to give people like me and you a chance to build a company within a company. Folks, for 20 years, when I left coaching, for 20 years in this business, every single day, I thought about building my company. I thought about building my business. I didn't want to be a salesperson. I hate sales. I hate the insecurity of sales. I hate the rejection of sales, right? I mean, salespeople are unemployed every day you wake up, correct? You don't make a sale, you don't eat, right? And then there's only one person. Therefore, you have a limited amount of time to produce a limited amount of business, therefore a limited income. Isn't that correct? So you've got a very insecure income because it comes from one person. If you become disabled, you become sick, your income stops, right? And then you have a very limited opportunity to make lots of money because there's just one person producing, right? Now, it's hard work recruiting greenies, right? Listen to all their stupid questions, right? Field training them over and over again, right? But what I wanted to do was to build a secure income. I wanted to override hundreds and then thousands of people. That if I became sick and I became disabled, my income would continue on, correct? That's one reason I was willing to work extra hard. It's harder to build a company than just to make a living building a salesperson, right? And then I wanted an opportunity to have an ever-increasing kind of income. I didn't want any ceiling placed on my income out there, right? If I was willing to continue to work and continue to expand and continue to grow, that I wanted that opportunity. And by building a company within a company, that gave me that opportunity, right? See, I found out that people want 3 things in their life. Number 1, they want to work for themselves. Everybody wants to work for themselves, and I give you that chance. When you come to work with A.L. Williams, you're not working for me, I'm working for you. You're in business for yourself. You're building your own company within a company. And number 2, I'm going to give you a chance to build total financial independence for your family. That's what people want. They want financial freedom, right? They don't want to be under somebody's thumb. And number three, they want to work at something that they believe in. Does that make sense? And you know, one thing that I never forgot at AOE is it just blew me away. It's another thing like that magic of compound interest that I never could understand, how $1,000 invested at 5% for 70 years. If usually that $1,000, it grows to $30,000. But that same $1,000 at 10%, you leave there for 70 years, is $750,000. That is absolutely mind-boggling. And folks, it's the same way in growing by multiplication, right? If you go out here and you recruit 3 people, and you take those people and show them how to recruit 3 people, and you do that 10 times, that's 59,000 people, okay? So it's one of those things like magic or compound. It's absolutely magical when you sell this dream to other people and you have them understand their goal is to build a company within a company, and we grow by multiplication, right? And so you recruit somebody, they recruit somebody, they recruit somebody. It is unbelievable how this thing can explode. I mean, we started as a peanut in Atlanta, Georgia. Then before I knew it, I was all over the United States and Canada. Isn't that just unbelievable? To capture people's heart, you give them a chance to build their own company. They're not working for you. You're working for them. Next, you've got to always be positive and always be excited. Folks, when you're the head coach, a bad attitude will cause you failure faster than any other single thing. You can't ever let your people see you down. You can't ever let your people see you give up. Now does that mean, folks, you don't kick people in the butt? You know better than that, right? That a player cannot be the best he can be without a coach challenging him. You understand that? You need Coach Williams to kick you in the butt. Ain't that right? Some of you came over here and you weren't as emotional as you need to be, right? That you weren't as focused as you need to be, right? And you need to spend a couple of days with me. Let me get inside you, right? Now, I can be tough in a positive way. Does that make sense? It burns my butt when people can't see that, you know? And I don't have any time to spend with some of these people. They say, well, Art, he's so negative. I ain't ever negative. I ain't ever down. You don't ever see me quit. Now, buddy, you can see me crawling your crap big time. You understand that? But I'm doing it, hey, I'm doing it with the attitude of making you better. Ain't that right? Now, how can you hate me for that? Ain't that right? Do you want to be average and ordinary? Do you want to just get by? Well, when you're doing things that ain't right, when you ain't giving it the right kind of effort, do you want me to get in your crowd? You better believe it, right? That's positive, okay? But there's a difference in showing people give up and showing people quit. Let me give you the greatest example I've ever seen in my lifetime was Jimmy Carter. As president, you know, we had interest rates that were over 20% and oil, you know, was over whatever it was, $20 a barrel or whatever it was. And he got on TV and he said, our country is in a malaise. This country is in a world of hurt. And folks, even the Democrats would not recognize him. The only time he's ever been allowed on the Democratic platform at the presidential nomination deal, you know, was last time with John Kerry. Before it just took 20 or 30 years for even the Democrats. I still can't stand the guy, you know? But even the Democrats couldn't stand him for 20 or 30 years just because he got on TV and made that one speech. He showed weakness. I went to church in Loganville, Georgia, with my granddaughter that's married now this past number of months. And the preacher was talking that Sunday, and he had a bad year in terms of giving. They were behind on their budget and whatnot. And he got up there and he got really down and he said, look, maybe it's time for me to move on. He said, maybe y'all need a new preacher here. And he's still there, and I know him, and he's a good man. But folks, you can't do that. I mean, I honestly thought I was gonna die on the job at A.L. Williams. I never planned to get off the treadmill. I thought I was here forever. And it never even entered my thoughts. So you never could have thought that I was gonna ever leave, okay? And so you can't ever, ever let your people see you down. Let your people see you quit. Yes, you gotta be tough. Yes, you gotta be emotional, okay? But don't ever, ever show a negative attitude. Next is you gotta recruit the right kind of players. Coach Bryant, the great football coach at Alabama, says, there are three kind of players out there we can recruit. He said, number one, they're players that think they're winners. These are sort of the prima donnas, the pretty people. Folks, I just can't take them, I mean, these guys and gals come on board, and they are these CEOs or professional athletes, and they're people that just got to make $100,000 the first year, And in my first few years in the business, they hurt me because, I mean, I was out there struggling. I was dying. I was doubting whether I was good enough to make this thing happen in business, that maybe I ought to just be a football coach. And I would go to meet with ITT, and I'd see this pretty guy, with all this hair, he'd be up there, and he'd be talking, and I'd sit out there, and I'd just be dying. I'd say, Art, you can't ever be that good. Why don't you just throw in a towel and go back and coach football for a living? And then I whipped them all. And then somewhere along the way, I began to say, man, being pretty is a handicap. Honestly, I mean, honestly, folks, I'm not telling you. I see people with hair even this day and time right now. If you got hair, I say, ain't no way. Ain't no way. No way that guy's gonna get down there and shovel the crap like somebody like me. Ain't that right? See, there are people out there that think they're winners. They just think they're winners because they got this special degree or this beautiful body or the ability to talk or something like that, right? Coach Bryant said, I don't want those people. He said, and the second kind of people are they're losers that know they're losers. Well, folks, there's some people out there, it's sad to say, but that have been so crushed, so hurt, so disillusioned that they just given up, and there's nothing you or anybody else can do about it. And you can't take a dud and make him a stud no matter how hard you try. So Coach Bryant says they're losers that think they're losers, and we can't win with them either. But he said the third kind of players are the kind I want. Players that are not winners yet, but they want to be winners more than anything else in the world. Man, that's what I want. You show me a guy or gal, and let me tell you this. The harder you've had it, the better I like it, okay? I don't care what kind of disappointments and frustrations and all that kind of stuff you've had in your past life. If you're a good person, if you're a good family person, if you've got good morals and good character, and you've had a few tough breaks, you're my kind of guy. I want you to know that, okay? The tougher the better, right? Because, man, it's tough to win out there, right? And I love to deal with tough people, right? See, folks, listen to this, don't ever forget it. See, you don't sell insurance. You don't sell investments. You don't sell mortgages. You sell hope and opportunity. You understand that? What your job is as a head coach is you go to people out there that are frustrated, that are dying, that have been screwed and tattooed, just beat up on them so bad, they're just almost ready to chunk it in for the last time. And then Art Williams comes along, and he lifts him up, and he gives him one more chance. I was in Dallas, Texas one night. The old President Bush had a meeting out there, and I was walking into the stadium, and an usher came up to see me, and he said, "You're Art Williams. I want to shake your hand." He said, "You don't know me. I was in the real estate business in Dallas, and the real estate business went under, and I lost everything I had, and I was low as a snake." I think he said that he lost his wife. She left him, and he said, "I'm just low. I got to a point I was thinking about committing suicide. I was just so low." And he said, "Somebody told me about A.L. Williams, and I went to the A.L. Williams meeting and saw you speak." He said, "Art, I never got licensed in A.L. Williams. I never made a sale in A.L. Williams. I never recruited anybody in A.L. Williams. But A.L. Williams changed my life. A.L. Williams helped me believe in me again. And I got my real estate business going again, and now I'm on top of the world. And I owe it to A.L. Williams. Folks, that's what A.L. Williams is all about. We're about changing people's lives. We're about making people feel good about themselves again. We're about making people believe that they're special. See, at A.L. Williams, we don't sell insurance and investments. It's so much bigger than that. It's so much more important than that. We sell hope and opportunity. Isn't that exciting? See, what I'm looking for are people that, aren't packaged so pretty. But boy, there's something inside of them. See, all I ask, if you can every person, every piece of flesh that's ever been born, at one time were dreamers. I was watching 60 Minutes last night, and they were talking about Rwanda and how they're trying to kill these couple of million Africans, and the Muslims are, to purge the country of, like Hitler did the Jews and all that kind of crap. And yet they had the camera on some of the little kids out there, and they had the smile on their face, in the desert, nothing to eat, flies everywhere, just looked like it's sad, But see, everybody has hope inside of them, where they want to make a difference with their life. And see, I don't know why I'm like I am, but there's something inside of me that says, Art, you're supposed to be somebody. You're supposed to go for it. You're supposed to make a difference with your life. My butt's always burning. Something inside of me says, Art, don't give up. Don't quit. Those are the kind of people that you win with. To capture people's hearts, folks, you've got to become an expert on praise and recognition. Let me give you two quotes. Mary Kay, back when A.L. Williams was really busting it, there were three organizations, multi-level marketing organizations that were pretty famous around the country: Amway, A.L. Williams, and Mary Kay. They do the pink Cadillacs and all that kind of stuff. Mary Kay said, the only thing better than sex and money is praise and recognition. How about that? Mark Twain said, I can go 2 months on a good compliment. See, people, every person in your organization, every person in an opportunity meeting, every person at a fast start school, you got to look at them and you got to pretend there's a sign on their chest, a flashing sign that says, say something good to me. Make me feel special. I want to be somebody. You've got to become an expert on praise and recognition. Let me give you two secrets. Number one, you've got to praise people in public. If you want to get the most out of your praise and recognition program, always do it in public. Do it in front of their teammates. Do it in front of their family. And then number two, be creative. One reason I love t-shirts, I even did this when I was coaching. I do it with my grandbabies right now. But, just for a little t-shirt, you can put all kind of stuff on a t-shirt, right? I won't prove bad. I am somebody. Hero, we just got back from a family reunion at Amelia Island, July the 4th, and I printed t-shirts this year. Hero, my kids have t-shirts that tie in their closet, stuff I do all the time for them, right? Be creative. I've given trophies that are 6 feet tall because a guy was 6 feet tall. I've given plaques that are size of doors. We had an attack team, and I made an old black baseball bat, and put A.L. Williams attack team on it, just to be creative, right? I would give fun awards. I don't ever do this unless somebody is okay. You don't ever give a joke award when somebody's really, really hurting big time bad, But one of my favorite one is right when you're in the middle of the pack. When you're better than the losers, but you're worse than the winners. I'd give a t-shirt that was cream of the crop. You're cream of the crop, You're better than the losers, but you ain't a winner, And I used to give a torn sweater award. I used to give, just be an old coach, I'd get a sweater and put ALW on it, and I'd take scissors and I'd cut the old holes all over the sweater, and give a torn sweater if you hadn't had a really good year, Be creative in your recognition and recognize people in public. To capture people's heart, you got to have fun to build a team. Folks, it's got to be fun. You can't have, as a coach, you got to know when to cut that tension. It's a tough business, right? I mean, your best guy quits, you get a $5,000 charge back. A client says no. I mean, it's tough, right? And you got to know as a head coach when to cut the tension, when to have fun, right? You can't work at something long enough to achieve big success if it's always serious. You're always balls to the wall, right? You've got to have fun. Early in A.L. Williams' days, thinking about Bill Arenda and Jenny Carter, back when we were scared to death every day, thought we were going to be out of business every day. We did things like in Jenny's organization, every time somebody had a birthday party, we would go celebrate it at that person's house. And then we would roast that person like Bill Arenda. We would all get up and roast his butt, and it got pretty interesting, And they really had fun roasting me, But you've got to have fun in this business, okay? Next, to capture your people's heart, you've got to be generous. You've got to have a generous heart. I tried to look up a couple of definitions of generous, and the best two I saw was to give with no monetary motive. That's generous, when you say, to give, not expecting anything monetary back from it, just to give, just out of the goodness of your heart, trying to make somebody feel good. That's pretty special, right? Folks, that's what you've got to do to your people. You've got to be generous with your people. You've got to be generous with your time. You got to be generous with your money. It would wipe me out if somebody's taking a new recruit out on a field training interview and you pull into McDonald's to get a hamburger and you want to go Dutch, You got to be able to make enough money to buy a hamburger, something like that. Now, I would tell people, I said, I'm going to give you everything I got. And I got a bunch. I'm going to give you all my effort, all my talent, all my energy, all my toughness, everything I got except my money. Now, I've given away more money and I've loaned more money than probably any of you ever will in your lifetime, but I have never loaned money to a person yet that didn't need more at some point in time. And so I want you to know, I'm going to give you everything. It don't get too tough for me, okay? I'm going to be there with you. We're going to see this thing through. I'm going to help you get to the top and win, okay? But I want you to know you've got to solve your money problem, okay? I'm not going to loan you money because all I'm doing is delaying a problem. Sometime, at some point, you've got to make up your mind you will never get there again, okay? You're never going to put yourself in that situation again. But you've got to have a generous spirit with your people. Next, to capture people's heart, you've got to love your people and love your company. Mickey Mantle said something that always meant something to me. He said, I love hitting a baseball. I wake up every day. I get excited about going out to the ballpark and hitting a baseball. I just love hitting a baseball. He said, when it rains the game out, I get angry because I want to go out and hit a baseball. I love hitting a baseball. I don't like it. If you like something, you'll never be good at it. You got to love it. Folks, you've got to love your people. You've got to love by term and invest the difference. You've got to love A.L. Williams. And last, to capture people's heart. Folks, you can never, never, never stop selling the vision. You can't ever stop selling the vision. 50% of it is we have an enemy. We're part of some special event, some special happening. We're out there to correct an injustice. We're going to kick Prudential's butt. And then 50% of it is your personal goal of building financial independence. Most people that go in business for themselves, they have to go out and borrow $100,000 or $200,000. And then the odds against them making it are nil, and they wind up just hugely in debt. With me, all you got to do is pay $100 or $200 for your license. And then you get to use everything we've built for 30-something years to build your own company within a company. And then I'm going to help you make a goal where you can be financially free, where you will never be under anybody's thumb. You'll never have any more financial pressures in your life.